All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Historical Geology 1404. Today is our exam 2 review day. I'm in a chair. Chill day. Okay. Any interesting things anyone wants to bring before the class other than an eighth continent, which isn't really a continent? What do we think? Any questions? Interesting stories? Can I say things about evolution? Boy, I could say a lot of things about evolution. What about evolution? The different ways of looking at it? Absolutely. Let's do that once we start the exam review. No general questions or anything? Your exam, just by way of information, your exam is going to open after the review is over, and it will close on Sunday night. Hopefully Monday, because it'll close on Sunday. Am I your official bottle opener now? Yeah, it's my ring. You gotta hook a ring under the cap. You gotta get it just right under one of those. There we go. Almost. You gotta. There we go. Yep. You have to hook your ring under one of the little edges here, and then curl your finger on top, and then pop it up. Yeah. It's a fun party trick. Anyways, right, it'll open up after class and then close Sunday night so I can grade them Monday. Please get them done. Today is your last opportunity to ask questions about Module 2 content until the exam is over. I will not answer any more questions about Module 2 content until everyone has taken it. So, that being said, after this week, we only have 3 weeks left in the semester. Right, in the term? Yeah, a few weeks left in November and then the first week of December. We're almost there, guys. Yeah, we're just about to pass the halfway point. Actually, I think as of this week, we're at or just a little past the halfway point. This is the end of week 4, I want to say, or the beginning of week 5, something like that. I know, time flies when we're having fun, isn't it? Yeah. You guys having fun? I'm having fun. I'm dropping stuff. I'm having fun. Okay, let's get to the exam review then. Ryan asked a question about the different models, the different types of looking at evolution. The first one I told you about is the Darwinian model. Okay, someone remind me who Charles Darwin was. Bless you. You did learn about him. What did you learn about him?
He was a naturalist.
Naturalist, okay.
And he came up with the theory of evolution and helped with natural selection.
A lot of the theory of evolution is attributed to him and his research and hypotheses, yes. Now, what he initially proposed is that life is constantly changing as a result of changes in their environment, right? And he's right. We know he's right. We see it all the time now that we know what to look for and we have a name for it. But he was one person looking through one viewpoint over a course of just one person's career, okay? And so his perspective on how long evolution takes and the rate at which it can progress was viewed through just one window, right? If we all just lived in this building for our whole lives and we only ever looked out this one window, we would only see a little bit of the world. If we never left this room to look out the windows of the rest of the building, we would never see the rest of the world around this building, right? We would only have this one perspective. To us, that is the world, right? More or less, that's what he was dealing with. Now that we've had centuries more of observation, we know a little bit more, especially from the fossil record. And so that's where our understanding of how we can have these moments, so to speak, in time of faster rates of evolution, in particular after an extinction. Why would there be a faster rate of evolution and adaptation after an extinction?
Because everything is coming into
Yeah. And after whatever initially caused that extinction has changed your environment pretty substantially, right? So not only is everything adapting to fill new vacant niches from the things that died, but also whatever caused your extinction has changed your environment pretty drastically, and the remaining life has to adapt anyway. Okay? So those are the two different models. Your Darwinian, very gradual model, where changes happen very slowly over time at a consistent rate. And then your punctuational model, where you get rapid sequences of evolution. We now know, most scientists, I should say, I shouldn't generalize everyone, most scientists fall into the category of a combination of both. Where yes, changes are constantly happening because you've got those small environmental changes, but then every now and then there is a sequence of much more rapid evolution, right? What's up? Huh? Oh, you got 3 of those? Like right now you have 3. Are you drinking all 3 at the same time? I don't know. It's Jackson doing Jackson things. I mean, broth I would get. Yeah. Like ramen noodles, a lot of sodium in there and in that broth and stuff. I don't eat the ramen that much anymore, but in the morning, I don't know. He's got the metabolism for it. He's young. Just wait till you're 28, 29, your metabolism will start to slow down. Huh? It's really what? Really fast? That's not surprising for your age. Yeah. Yep. My metabolism isn't terrible. I just have noticed in the last few years, because I'm only 31, right? Normally, metabolism starts to slow down in your late 20s. That doesn't mean you can just eat whatever the crap you want without consequences. Your body is still constrained by the same chemical bounds that your older body will have. It's just that your younger body can process things a little bit faster, right? High fructose corn syrup is just as bad for you now as it will be in 20 years. It's just that your body can process the other proteins and things at a faster rate. Okay. Great question about evolution. Did I answer that for you? Great. What else?
It's just you just explained the Darwinian model like you did in the slides.
I did just now, and I also talked about the punctuational model. Other questions related to Module 2?
The vertebrate embryos?
Vertebrate embryos. Yeah, the one where I showed you a fish and a salamander and a chicken and a tortoise and a human all next to each other?
So that's what they grow, like each stage grow into, right?
Yeah. So early on, early embryos all look very similar to each other because we share DNA with all of those forms of life. And it's only after you reach a certain point in development that the changes that have come about through evolution, the mutations to DNA, let me zoom back out here. The changes to DNA result in the divergence in new body forms. But early on, they share the same body form because the earliest DNA is the same, or almost the same. a good idea might be to go through your notes for Module 2 and see if there are any concepts there that you wrote down. Maybe, I don't know what your strategy is. Normally, if there's something that my teacher talks about, I don't quite get it, I put a little question mark next to it so I can go back and revisit it later. But whatever your strategy is, if you're going through your notes and you see anything in there that you can't quite explain or you can't quite remember what it means, please let me know and we can talk about it right now.
Wait, did you already stop recording?
I already started recording. We've been recording for like 12 minutes.
Sir, will the small isolated population called Palladium end up being in the test?
Say that again.
Will the Palladium that
Oh, Palau.
Palau?
Yeah, the island. Okay, so that's just an example of something I was talking about. I just restarted the computer, so I'm trying to log in to some of the services here. Palau is an island chain that is an excellent example of how small isolated populations can diverge from each other. Okay, so you start with one species of jellyfish that get trapped in lagoons between these islands 20,000 years ago, right? And over 20,000 years, this one species of jellyfish has turned into a dozen species of jellyfish because they are in isolated populations that don't interact with each other. And each lineage, each lagoon worth of jellyfish evolves slightly differently from each other.
Because they grow, not all of them grow the same exactly. Some
Not anymore.
Some grow small, some grow big, right?
Some grow small, some grow big, some have different colors, some have stingers, some don't. The variation is wild, and it's because they are in those isolated populations.
Each of them sting differently, right?
Not all of them sting. Most of them actually don't sting anymore. Yeah. You can go swimming with all of these jellyfish.
And punctuation versus gradual.
That's what we just talked about with the different types of evolution. Yep.
Extinctions are like pretty much like how everything is extending, right, over time.
An extinction happens when large volumes of animals or plants die off.
Like they just die. Like
Yeah, normally in response to a pretty wild environmental change, like an asteroid impact or catastrophic volcanic eruptions or a drought, like a very long drought, things like that. Let's see, week 2.
and index fossils, sir?
Uh-huh.
Index fossils.
Yeah, what about them?
They they don't die down or anything, like they extend, you know?
Index fossils have to come from extinct organisms. That's one of the requirements to be an index fossil. An index fossil is very useful for correlating the fossil and rock record through time because it matches a few characteristics, one of which is it had a very short duration. So you can see where it starts in the fossil record and where it ends in the fossil record. Without that reference point, it can't be an index fossil. So yeah, where extinction is a requirement for index fossils to occur, I guess you could say. Extinction or just natural die-off, they don't always have to come about through extinctions.
How many questions are on this? A lot.
This one has 14 questions.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought this was the big test, like
14 questions, sir? Out of like freaking, you always give us like 30, 20, 50.
The last one was literally like 20 questions.
And then before we took like 40 or 50, right, sir?
Hold on, let me check. It's being weird right now.
Is there another test after this, or you just want
No, this is exam 2. Just like with 1403, you have 4 lecture exams and 1 lab exam.
Sir, habitat loss would be like where the animals just like pretty much stop eating, right?
Sorry, say that again?
Habitat loss would be the animals stopping their habitat, right? Like
Habitat loss is when an animal's habitat is going away, reducing for some reason. So a few examples could be drought, right? A decrease in rainfall, and so your plants start to die off. Humans chopping down your forests. Tectonics doing its thing, lifting a region of ground up higher into the atmosphere. As it goes higher up, the environment changes, it gets colder, and so the plants have to change. So all of these are different ways that you can experience habitat loss. Basically, if there's any change in the conditions that you require to live in. Oh, I see. Yeah, 14 questions. And it's going to be due on the 16th. No.
What is catastrophic?
Yeah, 16th. What is what?
Catastrophic. I forgot.
Catastrophism?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's good. That's fine. Catastrophism is when it's the belief that the larger features on our planet are made through very powerful, catastrophic disasters. Earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, things like that. That's what shapes our landscape. It was really the only way early on to explain where those big things could come from. We know better now because we understand how old the Earth is. It is small processes over long periods of time that make those things happen.
Like that's all like the big mountains, like they go like this.
Yeah, so catastrophism would say a mountain range was formed in a day or two by an earthquake. We know that's not true anymore. Come on. All right. Great questions so far. What else?
That's pretty much all it covers, sir. It's not that long, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Can you go over event
Stratigraphy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stratigraphy is the study in the relationship between layers of rock over time, right? And in a sequence, one after the other. The sequence of layers of rock. Okay? It is the sequence of layers of rock that will tell you the history of the Earth. Why? Because the different types of layers of rock are going to be deposited in different environments. Shale is a rock that is made by sediments which are deposited in a certain environment, which is wildly different from an environment that would deposit sand or conglomerate or igneous rock, right? So by studying stratigraphy, we can interpret what that part of the world would have looked like that long ago, because we can see the same environments depositing the same sediments today. We use the principle of uniformitarianism and common sense and our understanding of chemistry and physics to interpret these things. So event stratigraphy specifically, which is what you asked about, is when we look at a stratigraphic record and we find unique markers in there that are associated with certain events. For example, a layer of volcanic ash would be associated with a volcanic eruption somewhere nearby. Okay? A layer of iridium indicates a very large asteroid impact. That's actually how we can go around the world and track where the layer of dust that was deposited from the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs was. Okay? We can go anywhere in the world pretty much and find that layer of dust because it was a very large impact, and the dust from that impact kind of sifted around the planet, and that asteroid that hit us was rich in a very, very rare element called iridium. Iridium almost never is almost non-existent natively on our planet. Near as we can tell, Earth did not start with any iridium, we don't think. However, all the iridium that we have seems to be coming from asteroid impacts. So the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs brought a lot of iridium to Earth, spread that iridium around in the dust from the impact, and now every time we find a layer of dust that's rich in that particular type of iridium, we know that that is as old as the dinosaur impact, the asteroid impact that killed. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Also, interesting fun fact, iridium is an element that we often use in cancer treatment for the machines that treat cancer. So the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs killed them, but now we are using the elements that it brought here to help people with cancer. Isn't that interesting? Killed them, helps us. Yeah.
I got a question. It's kind of off topic, but like, if the asteroid that hit killed dinosaurs, if it impacted again, will we go extinct?
Absolutely.
No, catching it.
You catch it? All right, Superman. No, it was a big rock. It was a big rock. It sent a tsunami potentially 1,000 feet high across North America at the time that it hit. Because,
Someone said 100 people.
okay, so look at a map of the United States. You see the Gulf of Mexico? Do you see the chunk of Mexico that goes up into the Gulf from the south? That's called the Yucatan Peninsula. The Chicxulub crater, which is where the impact of that asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, that's where it hit, is off the south coast of Yucatan, the Yucatan Peninsula. Right there in that just offshore. Actually, about half of it is offshore and half of it is buried in terrestrial sediment on Yucatan. But that was all ocean. The Yucatan Peninsula wasn't there 65 million years ago. This asteroid hit in the ocean, and it made a massive tidal wave, not a tidal wave, a tsunami, potentially 1,000 feet high, that swept over the southern part of North America and stripped layers of rock and everything on top of it off.
So it would hit us, like if it hit in like the Indian Ocean, would we still get impacted by that tsunami?
The tsunami would not hit you and me if it hit in the Indian Ocean. The tsunami probably wouldn't even hit you and me if another asteroid that size landed in the Gulf. 1,000-foot tsunami is not going to come as far inland as we are right now.
So then, how would we die?
You and me? Our big problem would be the ashfall, would be the radioactive fallout, because it's going to spread a whole bunch of radioactive isotopes in the atmosphere. And it would send the Earth into a 10 to 12 year winter. Can't grow food. I said humanity would die, right?
Yeah.
Humanity would absolutely survive. It's just we would not be what we are now.
Having a ration like crazy.
You wouldn't be able to grow crops. There would be war over resources. The biggest threat to the future of humanity, if something like this happened, is humanity. Because if your nation is starving and the nation next door has plenty of food, you're going to fight them for their food. Right? That's happened time and time and time again. And enemies will often nations that have been enemies for a long time will often exploit a weakness like that. So if right now, not right now, China has been poised for decades. They want Taiwan back, right? They would love to get Taiwan back. They still talk as if Taiwan belongs to China instead of being its own nation.
Sir, why do they want Taiwan though?
Because it was theirs. China doesn't let go of things that, yeah, they don't like it when people take what's theirs.
Hey, sir, what do you think about us going against them, you know, or like, I don't understand what's going on right now, you know, like.
The Chinese-American interaction?
And all that, yeah.
Sure, I'll touch on that in a second. Let me finish my point with Taiwan here. As soon as they have an opportunity, they absolutely would try and take Taiwan, right? So if something like this ever happened and the world was thrown into chaos, they absolutely would make a move on Taiwan. People out in the Middle East would make a move on places and people that they have wanted for a long time that were not safe because people are distracted, right? The world is thrown into a nuclear winter. People are less worried about international politics. And so there would be a lot of things that come out of this. We would not be the same human civilization that we are now as a result. Most people would die. I'm pretty safe in saying that. And there are actually some asteroids that are a potential threat to us in that regard. I'll tell you about some of them here later on in the class. You asked about the relationship between America and China. I'll just spend a minute talking about that. It has at times been a good relationship and at times been a bad relationship. Same with Russia and the U.S.
But I feel like it's just bipolar, sir, to be honest. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean,
Trump jumps from Russia to China. You can't keep doing that, man.
well, it's bipolar because cultural ideology changes, right? China has become a very communist nation. And where before we would align ourselves with China, like during World War II, when Japan was trying to take over the world, imperialist Japan, right? Trying to take over the world, we allied with China against them. China and Japan have been enemies for a very long time. At one point, Japan invaded China and had, what was it, like half of the Chinese nation under their control before China pushed them back out to their island. Well, Japan was going to try and take China back again. So China and the United States allied themselves in World War II.
And so what would happen, sir? It would be China and us, and then against who?
Okay, so ideologies have changed, right? Russia and China are much more, well, China is absolutely a communist nation. Russia is far more socialist, communist than the American ideology has the stomach for. America is not the same nation it was back then. We are not nearly as conservative as we were back then, but still far enough removed that our ideologies are pretty different. And so naturally we have moved into opposing viewpoints at this point in history. So what you're asking is what would happen if we went to war with them?
Yes, sir. Pretty much there wouldn't be too many people having jobs, right?
Oh no, everyone would have a job,
Oh, okay, we'll still have jobs.
and it would be to fight.
Who do you think
But
would win?
with what though? Fight with what? Just us going to war with them, or what else? What else? would
I
we
mean,
have
yeah.
from the war?
China's military outnumbers ours by, I think, what's the statistic, 10-1?
Does that really matter though, sir? Like how many soldiers they have more than us?
Oh yeah.
I heard that it didn't have to do with that. It had to do with the military, equipment. You know what I mean?
Theirs is better.
Oh, okay.
China has outpaced our military. We have fewer, slightly better pieces of equipment. They have more very good pieces of equipment and a few pieces that are much better than ours.
All right.
They have invested far more in their military infrastructure than America has in the last 30 years.
Yeah, that already tells you right there, sir.
Yeah. It would not go well.
I would not ever think that though, sir. You know what I mean? They say that America's top country in the world. You know.
We like to talk a big game, and we are still a powerhouse. But we have fallen sadly behind the military technology race. Several other nations are actually ahead of us, but China is at the head of the pack because, again, this comes down to culture. We put a lot of our money into the welfare of our people. China puts almost no money into the welfare of their people. So while we have a budget of, let's say we have a budget of, I don't know, $60 billion, right? $40 billion of that goes into the welfare of the human public, or of the American public. If China has a budget of $60 billion, maybe $2 billion of that goes into the welfare of their public, and the rest goes into things like building up military infrastructure. That's why they have so many more military members and have so much more equipment than we do. They outnumber us with soldiers, tanks, guns, bullets, everything. And they have some powerful allies that we also ideologically conflict
And
with.
so, sir, what would exactly happen? Like, why you said it was going to be bad if we did?
I'm not going to treat it as a going to be. I honestly hope that we never go to war with anyone, and especially not China. China and America are so economically dependent on each other. If America goes down, so does most of the Chinese economy, because they are so invested in the money that we owe them. We owe China, let's see, American debt, our national debt, I want to say is somewhere just under $17 trillion or something like that. And most of that is to China. We go down, all that debt defaults, the Chinese economy tanks because they'll never get that money back, right? They don't want us to go down, but they sure as heck want to own us. They want to make sure that we are beholden to them in every way possible. And so they've got us by the short and curlies in more ways than the American public or politicians want to admit, including natural resources.
And so, I mean, if they were just like, it will go down in America by what? What will go down? Just like the like jobs? What else?
If we went to war with China,
Yeah, like, no. You said if America went down, what would?
oh, like if America failed as a nation, if we suffered a total economic collapse, if we were invaded by another nation, if another nation managed to defeat America and take us over, in any way, if the American economy collapses, so does the Chinese economy because of how interdependent we are on each other.
Okay, so they would fall too.
They would not, their nation would not collapse.
But like economically, they.
Right. I mean, it would be like, have you ever played with stocks? Or do you know what a stock in a company is?
Yeah, like.
Right.
Up and down.
If I got $1,000 to my name and I invested $800 of it into a stock, and then the value of that stock dropped to 1 cent each, and all of a sudden my $800 in purchases went to like 8 cents of value, I only have $200 left in my bank account. I have to somehow live off of the $200. Not impossible, just difficult. That's what China would be in. They would lose a lot of their investment because they've invested a lot in the American economy, but they would still pull through. We would be totally gone.
Yeah,
We would be whatever was left.
What would happen to us? Would we all be dead?
That depends entirely on what we're talking about here. If we're talking about someone invading the United States, extremely unlikely, right? We have enough people here. Our military is pretty decent still. We would be able, and we have a National Guard, and a lot of people in a lot of states still have the right to arm themselves. The number of states that prevent their citizens from having guns is far less than the number of states that allow their citizens to have guns, right? So there's a citizenry, an armed citizenry here. It would be pretty much suicide for any nation to even consider invading the United States. They would never do that. Distance warfare is what would happen. The first step would be cyber warfare, shutting us down from afar, okay? Hacking our water infrastructure and electrical infrastructure systems. If the American people can't get electricity and water, chaos. We start fighting each other for resources, and nobody knows what's going on. Shut down communications infrastructure. If no one can make a phone call, chaos. We start fighting each other. We don't know what's going on. That's the most efficient way to take down a country in the 21st century. Cyber warfare would come first. If it ever came down to any military action, the next step would be another distance option, nuclear. If you really, really want to take out a powerful enemy, you have to take out their command and control centers. It would really only take...
How we did Iran, right?
We didn't nuke Iran.
We did, or was it Iraq, right?
No. The only nation that has ever been nuked in history is Japan to end World War II.
But I thought we destroyed their nuclear.
Oh, yeah, their nuclear facilities. Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, those have been shut down multiple times.
And that was a good thing, right, sir? That we did.
Yeah.
They possibly could.
Oh, absolutely.
They could have took us. I mean, right?
No, they would not be able to take us. That's the thing with Iran. They talk a big game, and if they ever got a nuke, it would be very bad. It would be a very bad day, though.
Them, right?
They would, if they launched one nuke, they might have one day of victory, and then they would get bombed to oblivion by everyone else.
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah. You may. Okay?
And it all makes sense, so, sir.
But we don't want them to get that one nuke. We don't want them to make that statement. We want to stop them from doing that so that we don't have to do that to them.
But we pretty much made peace with them, right?
No, we are far, far from peace with them. No. Again, ideological differences there. Okay, we're kind of straying far from the subject of exam 2 here. These are very important subjects. I want to remind everyone you can always ask a question about exam 2, though, while we're talking about these things. Okay?
And so they have they don't even have really so much of a strong army, you know, sir.
Iran?
They just have like.
Iran has an army.
Iraq?
Yeah. Iran has an army.
Like, you think it's pretty, I mean, average or?
Enough to defend their country, and enough to maybe help invade another country, but not nearly enough to take us on. No. Right now, we still have the advantage of being allied with most of the other nuclear powers in the world.
So nobody else could be able to take out China, though? Like another country?
You mean like invade them? Nobody would ever even try to invade China.
Or could ever, like, take over? Nobody in the world could ever take over China?
I don't know what you mean by take over. Do you mean like supplant the government?
You were getting your card. You were
Nobody
getting
in
your card.
the world could ever defeat their military?
No, China's military can... The only way that you would ever be able to consider taking on China's military is if you were able to get a first strike on their more powerful bases and take out their long-range infrastructure. But again, it would be cyber first, which is actually happening right now, right? Cyber warfare has been happening every day between the United States and Russia for about the last decade. We've already entered that phase. Nuclear warfare would be suicide. It's not likely to happen because everybody knows that the minute one person launches a nuke, everyone else launches a nuke. Right? So it would be suicide for the person that pushes the button first. Of course, if you have an insane person in command of that nuclear arsenal, then they might not care, which is why we look at people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un very closely.
So, and they're not, well, are they?
I have a picture of him. Let me
Who?
Kim Jong-un and who?
Russia and China have, on paper, allied themselves with North Korea. But it's very obvious that they also view North Korea as a very unstable entity.
Bro, now when I
They will lend assistance every now and then, but they don't give them
I know I have it.
nukes, right? Yeah, no, nobody wants to let that guy have a nuclear weapon.
You're talking about Putin, right? With Putin?
Who is it? What
You're
is
talking about.
Putin has nukes.
Oh, okay.
He has tons.
Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, Kim Jong-un. North Korea has no nukes.
Why you say nobody wants to lend him one?
Because he would be dumb enough to use it.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Well, that's almost.
I don't know. Probably us. Us or South Korea. It would probably be South Korea, actually. You should look into the history of North and South Korea and when they separated from each other to find that answer. Yeah, look at the history of that.
Believe it though, sir. You know, it's real. They should all be allies. I mean, even
That's a great idealistic viewpoint.
even if it's a different side, you get what I'm saying? 'Cause they're supposed to support each other. They're from the same culture. You know what I mean?
Look into the history of North and South Korea.
That's just my opinion. Sir.
I understand.
It's just the way
Yeah.
the world works.
One quick note before we go back on subject here. Do you know what nation in the world has the most nuclear weapons?
I'm pretty sure it's Russia. Or Africa or something.
No. China.
USA.
I hear U.S., I hear Russia, I hear China. It's not Canada. They have nukes, but not that many. Okay, Israel. Yeah. The tiny little nation of Israel has the largest nuclear arsenal in the world.
So, sir, you think they could possibly do something with China, Israel?
China is not a direct threat to Israel.
Are we?
No, Israel is our ally.
Oh, it's their ally?
No, they're our ally. Russia, China, and Iran are allies. Iran is an enemy of Israel. So China is allied with an enemy of Israel, but China itself is not a direct threat to Israel unless they aid Iran in a conflict.
And we're aiding Ukraine.
We are aiding Ukraine, and Ukraine is a direct enemy of Russia. So that's why there's been so much tension between Russia and the United States over the last decade, is because the last couple of invasions of Ukraine, which this was not nearly the first invasion of Ukraine, my friends, okay? It's happened several times already. The last couple of times it's happened, we help Ukraine defend themselves. And that pisses Russia off, which is why things get tense between the US and Russia. Okay? I love talking about international politics. I love answering your questions on that. Dude, there are so many things I like to talk about and discuss. I am absolutely happy to have these conversations, but I also want to make sure that we are using this time effectively, and this time is set aside for you to prepare for your exam. Yes, sure. So are there any other questions relevant to the exam? I'm going to check my email and see if any of the online students sent questions. I don't think they did, but I'm going to check. Let's see. No messages on Blackboard. No, none in my email. Okay. Other questions? Yeah. What lectures? This exam covers lectures 5, 6, 7, and 8. So all of Module 2.
I'm sorry, I had a
This covers lectures 5, blank, blank, and 8.
5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yes, that's what I said.
Oh, that's why you said 5.
Bro.
So crazy. Ooh, that's not it. I sure did. I screwed those things up.
that lot.
All right.
And so, do we have to do like complicated?
All right, so the question is, what's coming next in the class? Sure, I'll answer that, absolutely. Module 3 is a walkthrough of geologic time. We start with the Hadean, which is the earliest time period in Earth history, and then we end with now. Okay, so we're going to have a series of lectures that talk about all of the major time periods between the beginning of our planet and right now. I'm going to introduce to you when life began, how it's changed through time. You'll be able to finish up labs 3 and 4. There's going to be really interesting conversations more about evolution. You'll see how plants and animals diverge from each other. There's going to be really interesting stuff that we're diving into that I only barely touched on in our overview so far. So that'll take up the last half of our class. Less than half now. More like last 40% of the class.
This is the last of historical geology.
What do you mean this?
This is the only.
This is the only historical geology class here, yes.
So
Next term, you won't have any geology from me.
wow.
You're going to fail this class? What if? You can take it again. Are you saying that you want to fail the class so you can stay here? Huh?
I'm telling Gavin yesterday,
Yeah, man, if you feel... You shouldn't feel like you're going to fail my class. If you feel like you're going to fail my class, that's when you know you need to ask more questions and get some tutoring. Hypothetical. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. All the mammals were what? Not necessarily that the mammals were dumb. They were small and they would hide. This is a great question. This is something that we talk about later on in Module 3, but I'm happy to touch on right now. Okay? So the question was, why, if the mammals were small and hid at night and like they were nocturnal and they could not compete with the dinosaurs in any way, why were they able to survive when the dinosaurs did not? Great question. They were adaptable. The dinosaurs lived on this planet for more than 100 million years. I want to say maybe 120 million years total.
Can I make a guess?
Sure.
Because they were smaller, so it's easier for their body to run.
Body size absolutely had something to do with it. Is that a ringtone? Okay, body size absolutely had something to do with it. The smaller a body is, the less food it needs to survive. What happens in winter? Plants die. Right? Things either hibernate or eat less food or eat food that they saved up. When plants die, a 120-foot long sauropod is not going to be able to eat enough to sustain itself. It's going to die off pretty quick. But a mammal the size of a rat doesn't need to eat very much food. And it also has the other advantage of it's warm-blooded. It doesn't need the sun to warm it every day. And there's some evidence to suggest that dinosaurs themselves were partially at least endothermic, warm-blooded, but not nearly as much as a mammal was. Okay? So there were a lot of advantages that mammals had that dinosaurs did not. So big dinosaurs die off. Small dinosaurs, for the most part, end up dying off eventually as well. There was one type of dinosaur that did not die off. They stuck around. The birds. The birds stayed. The avian dinosaurs. That's what type they are. They are avian dinosaurs. And they stuck around. They survived the extinction along with the mammals. And, spoiler alert for later on in Module 3, after that nuclear winter ended and the world started to heat up again and life began to diversify and adapt and fill in those empty niches left behind by the dinosaurs, the avian dinosaurs, so the birds and the mammals, were competing with each other. There are some pretty crazy big predatory birds that evolved. I'm talking about birds that stood almost 7 feet tall and had gigantic beaks and would eat small horses. Huh? Yeah. They competed with mammals for a while. Mammals eventually won. Mammals ended up being more adaptable, but birds still stayed successful, still stayed relevant. Good question. Any questions over here? No? You feel ready for the exam? No? Well, then ask me questions. Do your notes feel like they're something that you can rely on? Okay. Okay. So maybe all that it is you just kind of feel generally unsettled about any exam at all. Got it. Okay. Okay. That I understand. That I understand and empathize with because I'm very similar. No matter how prepared I am, I always feel like I still have the potential of failing and it freaks me out. Yeah, I get that for sure. What else? Whoo! Jackson's going to pass this test with 100.
I say minimum 80.
Minimum, you know what, I like that. Y'all should shoot for a minimum of 80 on this exam, all right?
I think like the first exam was. Hey, sir. I keep my word on it. I'll say I made like an 80 over 80.
Oh, wow, okay. All right. You owe me $10 if you don't. No, I'm just kidding. There's money on the line now. There's money on the line.
How much money?
No, I'm kidding.
Everybody has to explain.
Yeah. All right. No other questions?
Hey, sir, that would make everybody want to take the exam.
Yeah, right. Okay. By the way, just putting this out there. Movie night, December 5th. That's about what, 2 weeks away? 2 weeks and change away.
Oh yeah, we're showing up this time.
You're showing up this time. Good. So it's going to be the Friday before the end of the class. So we have our movie night, and the next week is finals. I wanted to do the movie night at that point because you will have most of the work done by then. So the next week, all you should have to worry about is the final exam. Okay? We're watching Jurassic Park. That's the clear winner here. So you can bring family, friends. Don't be throwing a ball across my classroom. I'd rather you didn't do it over there either. Yeah.
I thought of one last question.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know how like there's dinosaurs and there's like gaps in between there's animals like the armadillo and that one
Yeah.
with the bug? Why do those gaps happen?
Why do those gaps happen? Have you ever heard the term missing link?
No.
Okay, the term missing link is often associated with human evolution, which is a subject we will discuss later at the end of Module 3. Okay? For the longest time, we had no clue how humanity connected to the rest of the primates. There were no fossils that we could find that directly connected humans, Homo sapiens, to the rest of the primate group, the primate family. Then we found it, and the missing link is no longer missing. Why is there a missing link at all in the human fossil record and in any fossil record? Because fossilization is so inconsistent. For something to be fossilized, its body has to be buried in the right environment. Let's say that I have a population of 1 million humans. Okay? I have a million humans that live in a valley. Okay? Out of all of the environments in this ecosystem, in this valley, the only ecosystem.
Hey, sir, you're doing that on purpose.
Well, he sure isn't doing it on accident.
We should expel him.
Expel him? Yeah, right. The only part of this environment in which something could get fossilized is next to the river. The banks of the river where it gets buried in sediment quickly and preserved. So 1 million humans live in this valley. Out of that million humans, maybe only 1 or 2 ever die in that perfect environment next to the river and get buried. That gives me a 1 or 2 out of 1 million chance of anything getting fossilized in the first place. Then, what's the likelihood that something doesn't happen to that rock later that destroys the fossil? Tectonics, volcanism, metamorphism. What's the likelihood that rock is just left alone? Let's call that a 1 in 10,000 chance. Then what's the likelihood that 4 million, 5 million, 10, 20, 100 million years later, someone stumbles across that fossil? I mean, the chances of that alone are tiny. Let's call that another 1 in a million chance. So really, the chances that I'm going to come across any fossil are astronomically small. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, that's why there are so many missing links, so to speak, in the fossil record. Gaps in the fossil record, like you're talking about. Why do they exist? Because statistics. The likelihood of coming across a fossil that had a very poor likelihood of being formed in the first place is very small. Now, we do find fossils fairly often, but the number of fossils we find are extremely small proportions of the number of animals that ever existed. So if I were to say 1 in a million dinosaurs ever got fossilized, and there are 1 million dinosaur fossils that we have in museums, not to mention how many millions more of dinosaur fossils there are still in the ground, that should tell you how many billions, potentially trillions of dinosaurs ever existed.
So I could just like go dig somewhere and I might be able to stumble upon.
If you're looking in the right rock, yes. And this is why it's important for paleontologists to know their geology. So I'm a paleontologist, right? That's what I've done for a lot of my career. I had to know the principles of geology first. Some people become paleontologists through biology. They start with biology, get interested in evolutionary biology, and then go into paleontology that way. Those are the people who usually spend their time in labs or behind a computer and theorize. I am a paleontologist who got here through geology. I learned about the rocks and how to interpret them using the methods that I'm teaching you in this class. I was able to learn enough about rocks that I could look at a geologic map and say, this rock is that age, this rock is that age, this rock is that age, it represents this environment, this environment, this environment. I am more or less likely to find fossils there. And I'd go, and I would find fossils. I almost always found fossils where I was looking for fossils because I know the kinds of rock that are likely to hold them, right? Snake fossils do exist. Yeah. Oh, snakes have lots of bones.
Hey, sir, so, oh, yes. Hey, sir, so about that, like, they have it, it's just throughout their body on that runs there.
Yeah, they don't have limbs. They have a backbone, they have a skull, they have ribs, they have all of that. They just don't have arms and legs. No, they're wrapped around in muscle. They move by moving their muscles. But they're not worms, they have bones. As a matter of fact, the largest snake that ever existed is called Titanoboa.
How big is it?
They got really big, like big enough to eat dinosaurs big.
So they were like, they were nasty.
They're like the size of the building. Standing up.
They don't stand up.
I mean, I feel like they can crawl over the building.
What is that?
Sir, what's that noise?
They're doing some work upstairs. Titanoboa got 42 to 47 feet long and weighed about 1.5 tons. Let me pull up this picture here.
We would low-key take it.
Bigger than an elephant?
I mean, yeah. This is a Titanoboa to scale. I know it's coming up.
When did they go extinct?
Eating an alligator.
Well, if I would have seen that thing, if that, the thing,
I mean, there are snakes alive today that eat people. There was let's see, this was about 10 years ago. There was an old lady in the Philippines just in her garden, like just a grandma in her garden, and a big old anaconda snuck up behind her and wrapped around her and ate her.
Never going to freaking
Philippines, see where else? Thailand, Australia, yeah.
everything, they got some big old spiders.
When did they
Africa, there are some big ones.
When did that thing go extinct?
When did they go extinct?
There people say they saw it in the 1940s.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
I saw the Joe Rogan part.
Late Paleocene. The late Paleocene is when they went extinct. So, let's see here. 58 million years ago.
I won't even react to it.
That's not enough.
I bet you can do it. It's 10:44.
So I think we're prepared.
You think you're what?
Prepared.
You're prepared?
I already told you I'm getting at least an 8.
All right, everyone feel prepared for this exam?
I feel so
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to end the review session here, and then you can feel free to just start the exam if you want. We still have an hour and 40 minutes in lab time, or in class time left. It's only 10:40. So you can feel free, I can pretty much guarantee you'll probably finish the exam in that amount of time. But if you don't feel confident in being able to do that, then don't start it right now, save it for later, and just work on lab right now. It is due on Sunday night, so that I can start grading them on Monday morning.
We'll do it Sunday night.
You'll do it Sunday night? That's the secret to success. Put off everything until the last minute. Yeah, sure. I'm being sarcastic. Don't do that. All right, I'm going to end the recording here. Good luck, everyone.